Willkommen to the Geek History lesson on Kurt Wagner, aka the Incredible Nightcrawler, because your Geek History lesson is now in session. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason Bluefur Inman. Welcome to your Mind University because you have stumbled upon Geek History Lesson, which is the podcast that usually will tell you about your favorite characters from pop culture, comic books, movies, and explain their entire history in about less than an hour. And today we're talking about a blue-skinned, furry elf. What's his name? Ashley?
Nightcrawler!
Yes, I didn't know why you were waiting for dramatic pause on this one.
The best ex-person ever!
That's,
Sorry about the terrible German accents
That's up
that
to debate.
Are going to be rampant throughout this
Our
episode.
German listeners are going to be mad.
Totally.
Was this episode requested by anybody?
This episode was requested by so many people.
All right, let's hear these awesome people because you can suggest lessons by going to our Twitter at GHL Podcast and going to our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Geek History Lessons.
That's true.
Yes, those are the places, by the way, to request episodes. I know a lot of people will shoot them to our personal Twitters.
We don't collect them from there as regularly or as often as we do from the Geek History Lesson account.
Yep. So
that's the best.
Go to the Geek History Lesson accounts. I know you're enthusiastic. I know you're excited, but 9 times out of 10, if you request it to our personal Twitters, it's
going to get lost in the ether.
It will never be brought on this episode.
This episode has been requested so long ago that it was first requested by Matthew Peterson before we invited him to be on the podcast.
Matthew Peterson.
He's our most frequent co-professor, adjunct professor. So this has been requested by Matthew Peterson, Chaim Steinberg and his son Tobias, Joseph Conrad, Tony Curtis Nichols, Austin Baker, Alberto, Emily Keebler, and Sean Yount. So those are all of our TAs.
Chaim and Tobias, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Chaim or Chaim?
I think it's Chaim because that's the way it's spelled, but I don't know.
I recognize their requests. They've requested several times.
They have, and he's been too kind to ever correct our possible mispronunciation of his name.
That's what you get when you sign up for a request at Geek History Lesson.
His little boy Tobias, fun fact, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, dressed up as Nightcrawler for Halloween.
I remember that picture.
Yeah.
I remember.
And so for them, I know this has been a long time request. So it's kind of exciting to be able to fulfill it. Hopefully, Tobias is still cool enough to listen to Geek History Lesson.
Yeah, he doesn't think we're lame. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
let's move right into the 10-cent origin.
The 10-cent origin is the first section of our podcast where we very quickly, kind of like comic books used to be with the 10-cent, you pay 10 cents, you got a comic book. This is very quick, very digestible, everything you need to know about Nightcrawler really quickly.
So Nightcrawler's name is Kurt Wagner. He is known as the Incredible Nightcrawler, Gainsborough, Banff, Great Boogie, Fuzzy Elf, Hair Indigo, the Flying Fiend, the Magnificent Monster.
Oh, wait, the Hair Indigo?
Hair Indigo. Hair like the German word for man.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Indigo like blue.
Okay.
The Daredevil Demon and Captain.
Captain?
He's been called Captain because he's sometimes the captain of a pirate ship in heaven on the astral plane.
All right.
He's of course a Marvel Comics character created by the great Len Wein and the equally great Dave Cockrum. First appeared in Giant Size X-Men #1 in May of 1975. He is a human mutant with team affiliations that include the X-Men, the Vatican, the actual Vatican, not a fake thing.
He's a priest.
The for real Vatican.
Yeah.
The Archdiocese of New York, Excalibur, Extreme Sanctions Executive, Men, Herr Gertmann's Traveling Menagerie. What?
Herr Gertmann's.
Herr Gertmann's.
Oh my God, we're gonna butcher.
Super Scottish in all of these.
We're gonna butcher so many German accents and dialects. I apologize.
It's gonna be a treat.
Get ready.
And his abilities include teleportation, being a superb fencer, enhanced flexibility, speed, and night vision, a prehensile tail, the ability to stick to walls and to be camouflaged in the shadows. And he was famously played by Alan Cumming as an adult in X-Men 2, and Cody Smith McPhee as a younger adult in X-Men Apocalypse.
Now, real quickly, it is the end of the 10-cent origin.
That
correct?
is.
Now, really quickly, before we get to anything else, I just want to... I remember when Nightcrawler snuck into whatever episode it was that we did a while back, where we first brought up the idea of your impression and the idea of.
I think that was Marvel Comic Duos.
Yes.
Because I named him and Logan as one of my favorites.
Yes, there you go. That's what it is. And I remember somebody on Twitter saying that they could not wait for the number of BAMFs that would happen in this episode. So for that person, start a counter right now.
I'm putting a mandate. Every time I say BAMF, you have to make the sound. Okay, good.
Wait, is that, or should it be more cartoony? Should it be like a
yeah, more like that. I like
be
it
like that?
pitched up a little bit. It's cute.
Sounds technological.
I mean,
Kurt Wagner.
Wagner, yes.
Hello, Kurt.
Hello.
You are the, what's your name again? The Nightcrawler?
The Incredible Nightcrawler.
Oh, I love that. How do you like your BAMs to sound? How do your BAMs sound?
Oh, can I have some options?
Okay, it could either be like a
Take one.
like a.
Eins, zwei.
What are you doing?
Two is drei.
I don't speak German.
Eins, zwei, drei. No.
Okay. No
Eins,
sprechen
zwei.
de Deutsch, Kurt.
Non sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Yes, no sprechen de Deutsch. But I've been to your lovely country.
Sprechen Sie English.
Sprechen de English, Kurt?
English.
Yes. So okay, there's one.
Okay.
There's two.
Take three.
That's
Zwei. I like the second one.
your
No, that's the third one. I do not like that one. Yeah. Yeah. Das ist
Well, I gotta
good.
say BAMF for that. I gotta go. That's BAMF.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We have just derailed this podcast
Sounds
to sound
good,
effects.
yeah.
All right, Kurt, go away. Goodbye.
Okay, bye. I don't know what's bye in German. Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen.
Yeah, I know some German guys. I can order food.
Should it be higher like that?
Yeah.
Like a wheel?
Yeah, bitte. Higher.
Bitter, baby.
Bitte. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Dankeschön.
Now we can move on to the podcast. Now that we've figured out that important
If
detail.
you really hate the Kurt accent, strap in, baby.
This, by the way, set that BAMF counter to a ridiculously
Gotta
high
be at
number
least
already.
25,
Oh,
right?
We've crossed 25 already. Like, okay, this is what I want right now.
Yeah.
Everyone that's listening to this podcast, if you care, I will tell you this. Go to Twitter at GHL Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That is our Twitter. And if you count the BAMFs and hashtag it BAMF meter, hashtag BAMF meter, I'll tell you what, I will give you a free GHL podcast pin.
Ooh.
You're going to get a free one.
The first person?
Yeah, because we'll have no way of knowing the correct number.
Yeah, that's true.
But we'll know if you're close.
I will. I'll also shout this out too.
The first person.
Ages and ages ago, when this podcast first started,
First non-patron, my friends, because the patrons
all get one.
Patrons get it a little bit earlier, and they get a pin.
when this podcast first started, Jason made a really cool Nightcrawler shirt. And a design just for me, and it is now available to the public. And I would recommend you can, if you go to Geek History Lesson,
And click on shirts.
and you go to T-shirts, you can find the design
geekhistory.com.
there.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend just going and looking at the art.
Yeah, and it says
Yes, it does. And if you like it, maybe picking it up. But I just remember that existed. So, all right, let's roll right into the meet cute, shall we?
yes, the Meet Cute, which is the section of the podcast where we talk about where we first meeted and cuted Nightcrawler, where we first discovered the character.
Yeah.
Ashley, you love Nightcrawler a lot.
So much.
You have some Nightcrawler action figures.
yeah, not as many as I'd like, but yes.
Plenty of life to live there. Where'd you meet Nightcrawler? Where'd you first fall in love with this guy?
Like so many of my answers, I first met Nightcrawler.
Batman the Animated Series?
And, X-Men the Animated Series. The one that with that dope theme song.
Yep.
But where I really fell in love with him was in X-Men Evolution.
Oh. I don't
X-Men
remember the theme
Evolution-
song of that song. That movie, I think it was more like just a techno song. Right?
I would truly have to look it up because I don't know what the
Sure.
theme song is. X-Men Evolution is a less good show.
Oh, yes. It's not bad, though.
It's not a great show. It features all of the characters going to a regular high school instead of to Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Kurt wears a watch that allows him to blend in. But they really play up the fun show-off parts of his personality. They really highlight the acrobatic performer. And for me, he's the standout of the show. I love him so much. That was where I decided if I was ever going to be an X person, I was going to be his girlfriend. I was 12. Give me a break.
Right.
I used to set my alarm clock on Saturday morning so that I could get up to watch X-Men Evolution. And it remains one of my favorite performances of the character to date, and I do have the action figure from that series.
Ah, nice.
There you go. Jason, where did you first meet and cute Kurt Wagner?
He was in the Uncanny X-Men comic books in this storyline called Legion Quest, which was the lead up to Age of Apocalypse. And that's it.
Beloved by Jason, Age of Apocalypse.
Yes, and he's a crazy pirate with a weird upside-down L on his face during Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, he is. Now, before we dive straight into our History 101, we have to talk about this week's sponsor. Jason, who is sponsoring Geek History Lesson this week?
This week, Geek History Lesson is sponsored by HelloFresh. If you don't know what HelloFresh is, it is a meal kit delivery service that shops, plans, and delivers step-by-step recipes and pre-measured ingredients just so you can cook, eat, and enjoy very, very easily. It's a cool way to make family dinners fuss-free with HelloFresh's picky eater, kid-tested, approved family plan recipes. And I gotta tell you, it's pretty simple. There's really good food. Myself, I recently had I believe it was the glazed pork chops. I'm going to forget about it. It was really good. It was really simple. I believe with all the ingredients and the step-by-step plans, it took me like 30 minutes. And it actually tasted really good because that's one of the best things about HelloFresh and these meal delivery services. You can look forward to your HelloFresh delivery knowing dinner just got that much easier because it's already done and it's pretty simple and you don't have to go out all the time. And they're delivered right to your door in recyclable, insulated packages, which is awesome. I mean, that's the best thing about HelloFresh because you can spend less time, meal planning and grocery shopping each week, and you can get to, back to doing what you love, which is reading comic books. I hope it is.
And eating.
And eating lots of stuff like that. So for $30 off of your first week of HelloFresh, go to hellofresh.com/geekhistory30. That is the number 30, and enter the promo code geekhistory30. So don't forget, $30 off. This is an amazing service. It's so easy to get awesome meals straight to your door, and you can go a little bit out of your comfort zone and try things you never would have tried before. HelloFresh.com/geekhistory30. Promo code geekhistory30. And now let's go back to some Nightcrawler.
Yes, let's. We're going to go right into the History 101.
Yes, the main meat of the podcast where Ashley's going to tell you a lot about Nightcrawler.
I am. We are going to start with some publication history because it's actually really cool. So artist Dave Cockrum first drew Nightcrawler while he was serving in the United States Army.
Weird.
On a base in Guam. And he said, and I quote, "I sat up one night in the middle of a typhoon because it was too noisy to sleep. So I stayed up and thought about this character. Originally, Nightcrawler was a demon from hell who had flubbed a mission, and rather than go back and face punishment, he decided to stay up here in the human world. He was supposed to be a sidekick of another superhero character that I had created named the Intruder."
Oh, weird.
So then he got into drawing comic books, like you do. And he originally submitted the first character design for a team that was going to be called the Outsiders and was supposed to exist in the same time period as DC's Legion of Superheroes. That team never wound up coming to pass. They took the name Outsiders and made it a different team.
Yeah.
DC rejected the design, so when Cockrum started drawing X-Men in 1975, he just drew Nightcrawler onto the team.
Good for him.
And the only note that he got from editor Roy Thomas, famous comic creator, was to make the team more multinational, so BAMF, he became German. Now it's fictional character biography time. Oh man, these poor counters.
Yep.
Mystique.
Better be at least above 40 now.
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't know.
Mystique, we all know her, right? Blue girl.
Do we? She's a blue shapeshifter girl who's in a lot of X-Men movies. I think almost every X-Men movie she's in it.
I think she's in every one.
With the exception of like the Wolverine ones, of course.
Yeah. She was disguised as a German noblewoman, married to Baron Christian Wagner, and having an affair with Azazel because she had a lot of free time on her hands.
Yeah, who doesn't?
As it happened, she became pregnant, and Azazel didn't want the baby. So he told her to raise it as the Count's child, or according to my headcanon, Azazel wasn't there. The Count died under suspicious circumstances right before Kurt was born, and he was born with visible blue fur, pointy ears, yellow eyes, and a tail.
As a baby.
Damn. Come out in the womb like that, marking him immediately as a mutant. And the birth was so difficult that Mystique reverted back to her natural blue form.
Oh, double damn.
So the two were chased by a mob out of the hospital. And Mystique lost consciousness and fell and left Kurt floating down a river to safety.
Like Moses.
Like a Moses analog. He was rescued by Margali Zardos, pretty sure I nailed that. A Romany queen working at Herr Getman's Traveling Menagerie.
Had a good man.
Nailed that one. And much like Dick Grayson, he was raised in the circus. Jason, why so many circuses in comic books?
Well, it's a little weird for this one because 1970s,
Yeah, 75.
75, circuses weren't a thing, but circuses are a thing of comic books because in the 1930s there weren't televisions.
Golden Age?
I mean, think about it. Televisions didn't become in wide use until the 1950s. Superman and Batman have underwear on the outside because of circus strongmen.
Yeah.
Circus was the thing that came to town and showed you stuff that you didn't have before. So circuses were a thing. But I even think by the 1970s, circuses wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
I don't know. Someone who was alive in the 70s, let us know.
I don't know. I just think because it was like, that was a very standard comic thing. Circuses.
So Margali
So many carnies.
Oh man,
So many damn
she had
carnies.
2 biological children named Stephen, or I guess a German, maybe Stefan.
Who did?
Margali, the lady who
All right, thank you.
pulled him out of the river, and Jermaine.
Jermaine Clement?
It's Jimaine. I don't even know how to begin trying to say that in German. So she raised Kurt as one of her own. He was always a wonderful acrobat and moved out of the freak show and into performance years before his teleportation power showed itself. He remained largely safe in the circus because audiences just assumed that he was wearing a costume. The circus lost popularity over the years because it's 1975.
Yeah, people are like, the circus is so dated.
And
Man.
Herr Getman decided that he could no longer afford to pay Kurt, so instead he sedated him in between performances and tried to sell him.
What?
Yeah, true facts.
Jesus.
But Margali, his mother, couldn't stand for that, so she freed Kurt, who accidentally knocked over a torch and burned the circus to the ground as he escaped.
Oh, my God.
And this is X-Men, so this is high drama. You don't even know what you've signed up for. This is when Kurt teleported for the first time. He's a teenager now. He was being chased through a German forest and threatened with being shot in the face.
He did what for the first time?
Teleported. So he bamfed away. He was then taken in by a priest named Father Wagner. So many Wagners.
So many Wagners.
Who took him in and sheltered him in exchange for Kurt performing manual labor. Herr Getman was still searching for him, though, and he found Kurt and burned down Father Wagner's church
All this fire.
as well.
So much fire.
That's why Nightcrawler's afraid of fire.
Is he afraid of fire?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
he is.
Oh.
Kurt almost killed Herr Getman in revenge, but was reminded that he was a human and not the monster that he was accused of being.
Good for you, Kurt.
Kurt returned to work in a different circus for several years, and when this circus was bought by an American millionaire based out of Texas and moved to Florida, I'm not kidding, Kurt was forced into the freak show and no longer allowed to work as an acrobat.
Hey there, boy. All right. All right here. My name is Tex Willerman, and I'm the new owner of this here circus here. Now, who are you exactly? Who are you?
I'm Kurt Wagner, the Incredible Nightcrawler.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
No. Here, I'm Tex Willerman here. I'm a multi-million billionaire. Ask me how many companies I own.
No.
You just denied me in a conversation, which is not a very strong. I don't know if you've heard of these improv shows in the New Yorker towns. I don't like New York. I think they're too liberal, and they're
That's
too.
where all my friends live in New York.
They're too fancy
my
pants.
future friends.
No. I just bought your circus. We're in this town. You don't know anybody in New York.
Okay, tell me about
Blue
your
boy.
businesses.
All right, little boy Blue. All right.
That's a Fables character.
You just said you just straight out denied me. And
I haven't studied at UCB. Leave me alone.
And in many improv circles, they would frown on that. I'm just saying. I'm going to call you out.
I am an acrobat.
Yes.
Not an improviser.
Now listen, Tex Willerman here.
I actually elected not to write down this guy's name because I didn't think it was important.
Tex Willerman is his name now. Now, what's your name again?
Kurt Wagner.
No, it ain't going to work.
Nightcrawler.
Nobody in Texas is going to buy Kurt Wagner.
Wagner.
As a Wagner is not going to buy that name. I think you're going to be called Bill. Bill. I'm going to go, let's go Bill Johnson. Yep, you are Bill Johnson, the teleporting journeyman. That's what we're going to call you.
Okay, great. Bye.
We just you just hanging up on this whole conference. Now in the New York circles, let me tell you, in the many improv shows that Tex Willerman has been to here,
We have so much to get through.
I don't care here.
Going for so long.
No. We're gonna talk here, Kurt. You're like you are in this episode, and we are like you need to talk to Tex Willerman. I'm your boss here.
I don't want to.
Yes, apparently not. All right. Well, to the good listeners that would like comedy of Tex Willerman, just please tweet hashtag
Tex Willerman, no.
Tex Willerman, yes.
No.
That Tex Willerman should come back. I'll forget about him next week, but I'm just saying, Tex Willerman.
Tex Willerman, no.
Tex Willerman knows two things. That is improv comedy.
And circuses.
No, and that's crude oil. Those are two things I know. Crude oil and improv comedy go. All right.
Mein Gott.
No, your name is Bill Johnson. And I'll see you on the trapeze there, Bill.
So true facts, Kurt rage quit and moved to Wissendorf, Germany, which is a real place in,
Bring,
in
bring.
Lower Saxony.
Bring, 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 bring. Bring, 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 bring.
Hello.
Hey, Kurt, it's Tex Willerman.
Click.
That son of a bitch. Bring, bring, bring,
Swear on
bring.
the podcast.
Bring, 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 bring.
Hello.
Hey, Kurt.
Click.
Oh, damn it. All right, I'm going to get to him. All right, here we go. I'm going to call here. Bring, 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 bring.
Ah.
Bring, 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 bring.
I'm just going to let it ring.
Bring, 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 bring. Answer the phone, Kurt.
Believe it or not, Kurt's not home.
This is years before that show's on the air. All right. Bring, 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 bring.
What?
This is the Catholic Church of Tex. Actually, this is Tex Willerman. Hello, Kurt. No, I'm still talking to you through my mind telepathy. Kurt, I'm a mutant.
I'm just going to bamf away now. Goodbye.
Kurt, I miss you. And I really think you had something special. I think you should come straight to Dallas, and we should
Is that
do.
what the ladies with the big hair are?
Yes, some of them are. I think if we curate your act in Dallas, we could have a primetime spot at Dollywood. You know what Dollywood is?
No.
It is the primetime home of Dolly Parton.
No, but I tell you this, I will in the future have a blonde girlfriend, so maybe you talk me into it.
Okay, I'll call you in a few years.
Okay.
Don't forget to write. Judy, my wife, she misses you, Kurt. I just want to tell you.
Oh, tell her thank you.
Yeah, she'll send you an apple pie every year if you like an apple pie.
Yeah, that sounds good. Put it in the post.
You not like Judy's apple pie?
No, how is it going to live in the post between Texas and Germany?
Look, Kurt, I'm a billionaire. It'll be next day.
This is 1975. There is no FedEx.
There's FedEx for Tex Willerman. I'm just telling you. There is next day air for Tex Willerman.
I could just bamf. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Over there and get the pie and then bamf back.
Oh, please do. Pie's ready. Hey, Kurt, how's it going?
Hello, goodbye.
You want to go fishing?
No. Screw you.
I'm not going to tell you where the pie is till we go fishing.
I'll just leave then.
You're still on the phone. We're still on the phone, Kurt.
This is going to be such a long episode.
You should just talk to Tex Willerman. These sketches will be shorter.
You don't want to... You don't want to hear about Kurt's evil brother?
What's that?
You don't want to hear about Kurt's evil brother?
I don't know. You'll wright, Kurt, right?
Yeah.
I'll check you in 5 years.
I'll tell you about my evil brother.
I'll take you in 5 years, Kurt.
Okay, bye.
All right, love you.
No.
I love you, bye.
No.
Remember, hashtag Tex Willerman, yes.
He sounds like a drunk version of John Goodman.
All right, tell me about Kurt's evil brother.
Kurt moves to visit...
That is probably good friends with Tex Willerman.
Winseldorf, because his adopted brother, Steven, remember we talked about him? So Steven has magical powers.
Oh, no.
And Steven had a vision when they were young children that he was going to go on and murder children. And if he ever did that, Kurt was supposed to kill him immediately. They made a blood oath. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
So he goes to meet Steven.
This has to be a retcon, I would assume.
It's not.
Oh, what? Okay.
Although at the time, Steven had been overcome by his latent magical powers and murdered several children.
Oh my
So Kurt fought his brother in an effort to stop him from committing more murders, and he accidentally wound up breaking Steven's neck. This wound up starting a rumor that labeled him as a demon, and Kurt got blamed for killing all of the young children, even though he wasn't involved. And of course, this is where Professor Charles Xavier arrived on the scene and froze everybody around.
In Giant Size X-Men #1.
That's right. So, Jason, if Professor Charles Xavier is a psychic, why can't he ever manage to show up before the really bad stuff happens to the mutants?
Because, Ashley, that's not good drama writing. That's simply put.
That's fair.
I think, we might talk about this later in the podcast.
Sure.
I actually think that I like Nightcrawler as a supporting character. I do not like him as a lead. And the reason why I don't like him as a lead is because I feel too many writers have taken the demonic aspect of Nightcrawler and the religious aspect of Nightcrawler too far, so far.
Which is the least interesting aspect of him, in my opinion.
Exactly. And it could have been something cool that he's religious, but it's been so overplayed that it's cheesy. It's cheesy and it's actually dumb.
Well, Marvel can hire us at any time. And
this adoptive brother that was killing children.
Oh, baby, they don't go away.
Oh, I know.
The family is going to stick around.
But that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
that is so ridiculous.
Wait till he goes to heaven.
Oh, God.
It's going to be great. Xavier altered the mob's memories, so they remembered Kurt dying in the burning church, and they don't remember him being taken away. And as you might have guessed, this is when Kurt was officially invited to join the X-Men, which, of course, he accepted. And he got a sweet 90s intro. On his first real outing, Kurt worked with Professor X and Cyclops to rescue the original X-Men from Krakoa, who is a big, scary green X-Men monster foe guy.
Yep, he's a living island.
Yes. He joined fellow new recruits Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Banshee, and Thunderbird, and remained at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters while most of the original X-Men left, and they became the new X-Men. They were different from the original X-Men in that the team was made up almost entirely of adults rather than younger children or teens, and they had less oversight from Professor X, but they still did things like training sessions in the Danger Room.
Yep.
Jason, I want to ask, do you prefer a younger or a more mature team of X-people?
Younger, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if the writing is good.
That's basically where it is.
I kind of like them a little older, so I think that's interesting. Kurt's first real foray as a solo hero was investigating the murder of his friend Eric Hoffman. That led him to a direct fight with Spider-Man, Punisher, and the real guy who killed him, Jigsaw. Then on the eve of Kurt's 21st birthday, Jermaine, his other adopted brother...
Jermaine Clement, yeah.
Yeah, I freaking wish... transported Kurt's soul to a false version of Dante's hell, where he was forced to have a showdown with his adopted mother, Margalie, who blamed him for the death of her son, Steven. Jason looks so upset.
Oh, my Lord. Really?
Yeah.
Good God. Let's just move on.
Okay. So then begins the best friendship between Nightcrawler and Wolverine. I put 3 exclamation points after that. So Wolverine is going back to Canada to learn about his identity and what happened to him.
Nightcrawler goes with him, right?
So Kurt goes with him. They go to Ottawa, Canada. Fun fact, Ashley was born there.
Oh!
It's also the capital city of the entire country.
Remember that for the quiz later.
So there you go. Fun fact. This is the first time that Wolverine learns that his real name is Logan. They connect up with Alpha Flight and Department H to do more research on Logan's past and to conveniently help fight the Wendigo. When he returns to the X-Men, Kurt fought the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who were then trying to assassinate Senator Robert Kelly, that you may remember from the X-Men movies.
First X-Men movie, yep.
And Nightcrawler met Mystique for the very first time as an adult person. He recognizes how similar they look, and when he questions her about this, she, in typical Mystique fashion, refuses to give him any answers and runs away. He's pretty down on himself after this, and Logan steps in to try and convince Kurt to take pride in his appearance, and he dares Kurt to walk down Main Street in Salem Center in his true blue form, which Kurt does, and this is a real turning point for him. You get to see a really happy version of Nightcrawler after that, which is my preferred version of Nightcrawler.
It's pretty confident coming from Wolverine, who just looks like a dude.
Yeah, but he's got that I always wear a wife beater shirt level of male confidence, and he kind of wants Kurt to have the same thing.
Bidding, bidding, bidding. Bidding, 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 bidding.
Hello?
Hey, Kurt.
Tex Willerman.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to be Logan.
No, I know Logan. We've had
Which
many.
Logan? Which Logan do you know?
I know Gar Logan, and I know Logan James Howden.
Gar Logan is the wrong publisher.
That's what you think. I own everything. Okay. Kurt, I
do you
heard.
own DC Comics?
I do. Kurt, I heard that you walked down the main street of Salem Center. Does this mean that you are ready to come back to show business?
No. I'm a crime fighter now.
You could crime fight in the circus, Kurt.
No, you want to put me in the freak show. I do not want to be the freak.
Well, some people call it the freak show.
You call it that.
That is true, but I also advertise it as the Hall of Oddities.
Do you know?
Little bit different,
Do you
little bit
know that you sound an awful lot like Andy Daly when you say Hall of Oddities?
Hall of Oddities.
I know my accent is all over the place and I have no room for criticism, but that just came to mind.
All right, Kurt, I'll see you at Thanksgiving. Okay.
Click. The next big move for Kurt is when he became.
I can't wait till the geek history lesson on Tex Willerman. I'm just saying.
Maybe that'll be the extra. Who knows? Sometimes we announce them and do things completely different. Become a patron, if only for that reason. The next big move for Kurt is when he becomes the.
I apologize for all the interruptions. And I just interrupted you again. I apologize. I apologize.
I'm going to try the sentence for the third time. Take 3
not gonna
and action. The next big move for Kurt is when he becomes the leader of the X-Men after Storm temporarily, but they think forever, loses her powers. Because
yes.
every X person loses their powers, they think forever, but
That's actually a great
temporarily.
storyline with Storm. It's actually really good. There's a great issue where she goes and actually, this is not Nightcrawler, but she goes and like convalesces with Forge. It's really, it's a really good
that is
issue.
a good issue. Well, I guess we'll bring that up in our Storm episode if we ever do one. I'm sure we will. Based on his description of the Simulacrum of Hell, Kitty Pryde, my other favorite X-person, builds a version of it in the Danger Room and accidentally opens a real portal to Hell, forcing Kurt to dive in to save Lockheed from being destroyed by a monster that reaches up and grabs him. Jason, if people don't know who Lockheed is, before you roll your eyes completely, who's Lockheed?
It's this little alien dragon that has a psychic bond with Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, super cute.
Why are you kidding me?
Oh no, hang on.
Jesus.
Together,
Keep
they're
going.
transported to alien worlds where they share several adventures and meet such never heard of characters as Long John McGurk, Bogies, Jinjav Sabri, and Shagreen.
Long John McGurk would have been a great name, alternate name for Tex Willerman. I'm just saying.
It sounds like a villain in a children's show.
Long John McGurk.
I'm not kidding. That's a real character.
I am
name.
going to Google a picture of this guy right now.
Please do. I'm sure we'll forget to share it on our social media.
Yes.
When he returns back to the normal 616 continuity, both Storm and Cyclops have returned to the team, and so Kurt concedes leadership to them. This is also the first time that Kurt really begins to struggle with and doubt his sustaining Catholic faith after what he's seen on his travels with Lockheed. Nightcrawler then briefly loses his ability to teleport, just like Storm briefly lost her abilities, after a fight with Nimrod and the Hellfire Club. And this leaves him gravely injured, and he gets lost for the first time after teleporting.
Cannot find a picture of Long John McGurk, by the way.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll round one up. Or someone can tweet us.
Send it to us on Twitter with the Banff count.
Yes.
There you go.
He's eventually saved by Colossus, Shadowcat, and Magic. When his powers do return, he struggles controlling them. And when your big deal is getting from place to place, it's a problem if you can't control them. Mm-hmm. He's then a big part of saving the X-Babies. They're the X-Men that have been changed into babies by the villain Mojo. When he teleports them away from danger and winds up in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. The effort of this and fighting the Marauders soon after puts Kurt in a coma and forces him to be sent to Muir Island in order to properly recover under the watchful eye of Kitty Pryde. Then, one night, Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde have the same dream that they come to realize is Rachel Gray trying to reach them telepathically. Jason, we brought up Kitty Pryde a couple times here. In X-Men Evolution, she is Kurt's romantic interest. Do you like them working together as a team?
Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because they're both going to step into a leadership role really soon.
I guess. Oh, you mean of Excalibur?
Yeah, we're leading right into
Oh,
Excalibur.
okay. I saw where you're going with that.
Thank you.
I mean, they're fine. It's weird because they almost consider Kitty Pryde a part of the all-new X-Men team, even though she doesn't come till later. Mm-hmm. But she's, to me, is so cemented as part of that run. It's kind of like
She's not one of their founding members, but when she shows up, she kind of changes the dynamic.
I look at Kitty Pryde on the X-Men as kind of like Worf on Deep Space Nine.
Like, Worf didn't start on D Space Nine, but when you think about D Space Nine, you're like, man, it really works with Worf there. And with Kitty Pryde, I kind of feel the same thing.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
To people that don't listen, don't watch Star Trek?
Probably not, but it makes sense to me.
Made sense to Tex Willerman, I'll tell you that.
I don't think it did. They bring Captain Britain, Phoenix, and Megan Ponsonu. Yep,
Don't know
pretty
who
sure
that
I
is.
nailed that. It's also Megan with 2 G's, so I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. They bring them into their efforts to find Rachel and defeat TechNet and the Warwolves that have kidnapped her. And together they form a new team known as Excalibur. That's kind of a British-based X-People team. Nightcrawler gets his best costume ever. And as a team, they battle a lot of low-level bad guys who do things like kidnap Kitty Pryde at all available opportunities, challenge Captain Britain's alcoholism, take on villains in Murder World, and rescue Courtney Ross. They rescue a lot of Captain Britain's girlfriends or ex-girlfriends.
Oh, Excalibur?
Uh-huh.
I like Excalibur, though.
So do I.
One of the big things about Excalibur, though, is it has the amazing Alan Davis on art, and he draws very, 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 very pretty people.
Yeah?
Yep.
You think so?
He's one of the best Fantastic Four artists of all time, and he's only drawn like 6 issues of Fantastic Four.
Well, maybe that's why it's my favorite version of Nightcrawler. Closely followed by Todd Nuck's version, which I think is maybe the best like contemporary version. Their bodies are briefly swapped with all the members of Crazy Gang, which is maybe the best name ever. In a pretty fun story that Kitty Pryde winds up reversing through the use of a computer virus, which is a little silly and hokey by modern standards, but I actually think was really interesting at the time. And I like it when Kitty Pryde is intelligent because for so long, she was younger, so she often served to kind of stir up trouble or be an emotional character. And anytime we get to prove how smart she is, and I just think it sort of backs up the fact that she's going to eventually become a teacher at the Jean Grey School. So I just like that moment. Excalibur is then brought to America on Rachel's instructions because she can tell that her baby brother, Nathan Summers, is in distress. So they pop over to the Empire State Building and fight a bunch of demons.
Oh, that is the what is the name of that storyline? It's the one where Madeline Pryor goes crazy.
I want to.
It's God.
Divided Wing?
No, it's not.
No.
It's
I don't know. I didn't write it down.
Oh, it's killing me because we've talked about it on the show. We just talked about it on the cable show.
Yeah.
In our cable episode.
You can Google it.
What'd you go listen to? It's not the Mutant Massacre either. It's something like that. I don't know.
But it's a great story.
Yes.
Around this time, Kurt becomes romantically involved with a character named Cerise, who is a teammate of his, and they finally take control of TechNet, and together they rename it the N-Men, N like November.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
So I'm sorry, that's going to become a little alliterative. Oh, it's super dumb. Toward the end of the Excalibur series, he names himself as the team leader, moves their base to Muir Island Research Center, and recruits Colossus.
Who lives on Muir Island? Ashley?
The Ewoks?
No, Dr. Moira McTaggart.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Muir Woods, which are in San Francisco.
No.
Yes, and Moira McTaggart is a big part of this storyline. So if you are a Moira McTaggart fan, check out Excalibur. Kurt finally confirms that his biological mother is Mystique when he does battle with Astra, who is important for creating Joseph, who's the Magneto clone.
Yes.
And she reveals the details of his birth to him, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the series, of this episode of this series. Not too long after this, Kurt takes a leave of absence in order to enroll in seminary and become a Catholic priest. He then takes another leave of absence from the X-Men almost immediately after to mourn the death of Colossus, but does eventually...
Oh, we've jumped quite a bit. Wow.
We have,
Right.
yeah.
No worries.
But does eventually give up the priesthood to be an X-person full time. Now, Jason mentioned this, and up to this point we've been doing a lot of jumps because X-Men history is deeply complicated, and I'm trying to pull out the most important Kurt moments that we can condense into like an hour.
We've done the same in Cyclops and stuff like that. It's hard to do an episode on anybody besides I would say Wolverine that has been an X-Men member without just telling you the entire history of the X-Men.
And we don't want to do that.
And we don't want to do that. We will do an X-Men episode if people request. Yeah.
Or 5 of them, maybe.
It would have to be like a 3 to 4 part episode. It would have to be just X-Men month.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which I'm down for.
Sure.
If enough people request it.
Yeah.
But there's so much. It's kind of like our Superman Golden Age and Batman Golden Age.
Yep.
It would have to be. It's just so much.
Yeah.
So, I was waiting for you to say that at one point Nightcrawler took a leave of absence to go visit his good friend Tex Willerman.
He definitely didn't. But it's about this time when he's taken all these leaves of absences that in publication history that the retcon emerges that Azazel's Kurt's biological father.
Now,
That's not part of the original story. Nope. I included it to make the narrative of this lesson more linear. But Kurt is back working with Storm's X-Men squad, and Azazel shows up and is like, I'm your daddy. And then they spend a bunch of time fighting him and trying to figure out if this is true. It is eventually revealed to be true. Do you like Azazel being Kurt's dad?
No, and I hate Azazel. I think Azazel's dumb.
So do I. I also think this hits on your idea that, like, the idea of Kurt, Nightcrawler, the demon, like, this cements it in silly territory.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about what the period of X-Men comic books that you just brought up.
Sure.
I believe this whole Azazel storyline happens in Extreme X-Men. I could be wrong about that.
Yes, and the team that he's on is called Extreme Squad. Hang on, let me scroll back.
That's Storm's team. But
Extreme Sanctions Executive.
The priest thing happened. There's a cool little part where it was the companion title. It was Uncanny X-Men. It was the companion title to Grant Morrison's New X-Men. Mm-hmm. And it was where they were wearing all the black costumes inspired by the movie. They gave Kurt a black inspired X-Men, like X-Men the movie costume, and he had
the priest collar.
And he had the priest collar. Yeah. Which I'm fine actually with Kurt having a priest collar, but I am against Azazel all around. I think it's dumb.
Are you pro Kurt being a priest?
Sure.
I have mixed feelings about it.
I like him because it makes him unique among the X-Men, because the X-Men are generally religious, and also comic book characters aren't generally religious, so
I agree.
I'm fine with that.
I think it also serves to set him apart from Matt Murdock, who's a very Catholic character.
Yes.
But maybe it's because I'm not Catholic personally that I do rub up against it a little bit.
There's an interesting thing that they have never done with Nightcrawler that would be an interesting thing to do, is that if he is a priest, he should be nonviolent.
Well,
and the X-Men are very violent.
He does quit the priesthood eventually to become an X-person full time, because even though he's still faithful, and I'm glossing over a lot, even though he still believes in God and he's still sustained by his belief, he thinks that he can do more immediate good as a member of the X-Men.
Well, I'm just saying they could do something with Nightcrawler very similar to what they just did in Avengers No Surrender, which is the new Jim Zub Avengers Weekly comic book. Wonder Man, Simon, he now preaches nonviolence. So he'll show up to the fights and he'll protect his friends, but he won't punch anybody.
Oh, so he's doing peacekeeping instead of peacemaking.
And Nightcrawler would be a great X character to explore that with.
Marvel can hire us at any time.
Because his power is not offensive.
It's a defensive power, absolutely. Yeah. I kind of love that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
There you go. Yep, Marvel Comics, hello.
Hello.
Bring, 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 bring. Bring, bring, bring.
Am I being Marvel Comics?
Bring, 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 bring.
Guten Tag.
Hey, Kurt, Tex Wilderman here.
Oh boy. That was the wrong answer.
I've heard that you are now a priest.
Yeah.
I've heard that you now preach nonviolence.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I support you, but if you come anywhere near my collection of antique World War II grenades, I'm a coming for you.
Oh, I thought you might have been mad at me because you're not Catholic.
Oh, no, I'm a straight-up Methodist, Kurt. Straight-up Methodist.
That feels accurate to me.
I'm
all I know about Texas, which is almost nothing.
Look, we you believe what you're going to believe, Kurt, and I believe that.
Oh, that's very progressive of you.
It's all good. But you stay away from my grenades.
You are defying my stereotypes.
Stay away from my grenades.
Yeah, I agree. No grenades for Kurt.
That's good. All right, I have some nerve gas in the bottom, too, so, you stay away from that.
Okay.
All right, see you later, Kurt.
Click.
Good talking to you.
Bye.
See you Thanksgiving.
Bye, click. So, Colossus comes back to life. So he's pretty happy about that.
An Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon.
But he's got no powers.
Wait, Colossus?
Kind of a bummer. He gets depowered after Astonishing X-Men.
Yeah.
For like a minute, like all X people do.
Oh, good Lord. It's like Spider-Man no more.
So Kurt and Logan join him on a pilgrimage to Russia to visit Peter's family's cemetery and simultaneously to mourn the death of Kitty Pryde, which had just come to pass.
Oh, yeah.
They wind up getting in a big bar fight and then retained by the Russian government, and they're forced to fight Omega Red, who's this Russian supervillain.
He's a 90s Jim Lee X-Men villain with his tentacles.
He looks... I'm going to make a judgment call here. terrible.
He's so 90s, he hurts.
Yeah, he's
so 90s that he's kind of cool, and he's so 90s that he's kind of stupid.
He reminds me in a way of Onslaught, but in a less cool way.
You be careful there.
Well, because they're both big, bulky, red. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, Onslaught's like double the size of... I know what I mean. There's actually they just actually made a really badass action figure of Mega Red.
Oh, well, great.
Yep.
So, they were eventually extradited from Russia, go back to the U.S., and join the new X-Men team that is operating out of San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Don't forget to wear flowers in your hair. After a
if
short...
you're an X-Men and you're going
No, I want Tex to sing this song.
What's that?
I want Tex to sing this song.
To sing San Francisco?
Yes.
Flowers in your hair?
Yeah.
You want more Tex?
I want him to sing this song.
Oh my
Only for this song. Bring, 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 bring.
Hold on, I'm looking at the lyrics.
Bring, 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 bring.
Hold on, Kurt.
Bring, bring, bring,
Hello.
bring.
Hello, Tex Willerman here.
Tex, this is Kurt.
Howdy, Kurt. How you doing? Hey, by the way, how are you doing? How them cockles?
Like a 7 out of 10. But you know what would make me a 10, Tex?
Yeah, sure.
If you sang the Flowers in Your Hair song for me.
Oh, I can do that. All right,
Okay.
You give me a key of V, please.
What?
Give me a key of V. I need to start.
No, you tell me the key and then I give you the note. That is how that works.
Key of V.
E.
Thank you. All right.
I'm pretty sure that's how
If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear a cowboy hat on your head. If you're going to San Francisco, you're gonna meet and need to show some people your medal there. There you go, Kurt. Put some flavor on that one.
Thank you so much, Tex.
You're welcome. Anything for my buddy, my little blue elf there.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Click.
See you at Thanksgiving.
Click. After a short while, Kurt rage quits the X-Men again.
I was waiting for you to say he rage quits Tex Willerman.
He quits because their new member Pixie is a better teleporter than him, and he's sad about it.
Oh, is that serious?
Yeah.
I think that's in the Matt Fraction run.
It is, yeah. That's a I actually really like Pixie.
Do you really?
I do. I don't know if she has a great story, but I like her look.
I believe.
I like the idea of her a lot.
I believe she's only mainly in this run.
Yeah.
I
like the name,
Let's
too.
talk about this.
Sure.
Do you like the X-Men in San Francisco? We might have had this conversation at Geek History Lesson before. What do you feel about the X-Men in San Francisco?
I think the best X-base is on a secluded island away from people.
So you like Cyclops' Utopia
I do,
Island.
because
Right.
I've said this on a number
Off
of podcasts.
the coast of San Francisco.
Yes, I will say it again. I don't think the X-Men should exist in the larger Marvel universe.
Okay.
Because how do you know the difference between Nightcrawler and Spider-Man? Blah, blah, blah.
That is true.
So I like them the best when they're a little bit isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, upstate New York maybe ain't isolated enough.
I like them in San Francisco.
Do you?
I do. Something about
I guess I don't have a strong feeling
something about
it.
the vibe of San Francisco seems to work, and we talked about this very recently about how I don't like Marvel superheroes that all exist in New York.
Yeah, we talked about that on the last episode, in fact. So he rage quits, and what does he do? But he goes home to Wieseldorf, where a new museum is being dedicated to him and has just opened.
Oh.
Although, I hate to tell you this, but this is revealed to be a trick by the townsfolk.
I was waiting for you to say a demon, thank God.
Because they want him to take out who they tell him is a villain named Vielfraß. Pretty sure I nailed that.
Oh, good Lord.
Who Kurt soon discovers to be a 16-year-old boy suffering a Romany curse and not an evil mutant at all. Kurt really empathizes with him, though, having been poorly treated by the same villagers during his own childhood. Sadly, the boy kills all the villagers and then kills himself. So Nightcrawler gets out of Dodge and goes back to the States to join the X-Men.
Oh, my Lord.
His sole focus, along with the rest of the team, becomes protecting Hope Summers from Bastion, who's an evil android. Kurt is responsible for her because he can quickly and easily teleport her to various locations around the country, which is maybe the best use of Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And his specific skill set. Although Bastion eventually shoves his arm through Kurt's chest, so Kurt prays to God to grant him one last jump, so he teleports to Utopia and dies on the shore. Jason Inman, is this a good death for Kurt Wagner?
This, I believe, is during one of the there's a Hope trilogy, and like it's the first one is Deadly Genesis, and I think this is the second Genesis or second coming or something like that.
I think this is Second Coming, yeah.
So I have read this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a good death.
Okay.
It screams of
good art, though.
Oh yeah, great art. I think a lot of it. I think it's Greg Land and a bunch of other people. I remember this being a really well drawn scene. It screams of we needed to kill somebody. We haven't done anything with Kurt in a while. I guess it's Kurt.
Yeah.
It's a terrible death, and I remember reading it, even thinking this is a terrible death. This doesn't work. It serves no purpose to the story besides we killed an X-Men character.
Did you know that this isn't Kurt's only death?
He dies. This is the only death that I know of.
Oh boy.
He dies again?
Strap in.
Oh no, Kurt.
Fun fact, part of Kurt is still alive in Wolverine's mind, and he appears as a spirit in order to help Logan in some of his struggles. He shares the same part of Logan's mind as Jean Grey.
Bring, 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 bring. I'm calling
Spirit hello.
I'm calling
Ghost hello.
No, I'm calling Kitty Pryde or Jean Grey, whichever one I pick up. Bring, 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 bring.
Hi, this is Kitty Pryde.
Hi, this is Tex Wilmer.
Who are you?
I was best friends with Kurt Wagner.
I was pretty sure that Logan was his best friend.
It's me. I want to ask you, mutant people.
You know about... Okay.
Why wasn't I invited to this funeral?
We don't know who you are?
No, that don't think...
In fact, I'm pretty sure in Kurt's will, it specifically states to not invite you to any of his funerals.
Oh, that's cold. That's real cold.
By the way, I will let you know that while we couldn't give him a Catholic funeral, we did bury him on Utopia.
That weirdo cult place you got after the ghost San Francisco? Oh, good Lord.
I'm not going to tell you where it is because you seem judgy.
I mean, I can see it. I'm on the shore of San Francisco right now. Don't you
live in Texas?
I came to mourn Kurt as close as I could, and I'm looking through binoculars right now.
Through what?
Binoculars. I can see you on the phone right now. I can see you. That's how good my binoculars are.
Cut to Kitty Pryde phasing through a wall.
Yep. I saw you. Anyways, my missus, she cooked about like...
What's her name?
Judy.
I don't think that's what it was.
That's what it was. That's why I said it was Judy earlier.
Right.
There's no change in this. I don't remember my wife's name. She cooked about 15 apple pies for Kurt's funeral, and
Jesus.
If I'm, I don't know if I should give them to your island or not. Should I?
You know what you could do, buddy?
Why are you so mean to me? I'm mourning just like you.
Why don't you just put them in the water and give them a little shove and
that is a waste that is a waste of my good woman's time. How dare you, miss? How dare? Look, just because you're afraid of a world that fears and is scared of you doesn't mean you get to be an ass. Have some manners.
Click.
Oh, no.
Fun fact: this is about the time most Geek History lessons end. We have so much more to get through.
We got some Tex Willerman stank on this.
Yeah, really. It does remain unclear if this is part of Logan's imagination or whether this is really Kurt that's living in his brain. Mm-hmm. While Kurt is in heaven, because God forbid he go anywhere else, he longs to return to Earth and finish his business, and he gets the opportunity to return when Azazel attacks heaven and opens a door to Earth with a pirate ship, allowing Kurt and his baby Bamfs to teleport, you didn't do the sound, to Earth and return from the dead. The Bamfs, if you don't know, are basically little chibi versions of Kurt. More on them later. Azazel is defeated by Professor X's spirit, as he was also dead at the time, guided by Scott Summers' hand. Even though I think this move is really stupid, I kind of like that there is a retained connection between Scott and Charles for that little scene. Kurt has a hard time adjusting to being alive again because he doesn't have a soul. And he has a hard time acclimating to some of the monumental changes that had occurred while he gone, like Professor X's death, Logan's death, Scott being maybe evil now. He's having a hard time about it. And he comes under attack by his adopted mother, Margalie. Remember her?
Oh, I didn't think we'd ever come back to her, but
who tricks Kurt and the X-Men into inviting her to stay at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning.
What?
Her plan is to use their memories to gain access to the afterlife and bring all of the denizens living there under her control.
Oh my God, stop.
She opens up a portal to the afterlife, and Kurt has to seal it shut with the help of Amanda. Amanda is this character that I tried to leave out of this lesson because I think she's dumb.
Oh, I remember her.
That Kurt has an on-again, off-again relationship with.
Yeah, she's ridiculous.
She seals herself in the afterlife, and Kurt is left sealed in the realm of the living and broken-hearted. He then learns how to use the Bamfs.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that.
As extensions of his powers, and he becomes more powerful than ever before. He's able to teleport places that he's never been previously, as long as one of the Bamfs had been there before. And I think that's really cool because that's a classic limitation on his power set, that he can only go somewhere that he's seen before.
Yes,
so
because
if one of the Bamfs has gone there, he can go there now.
Oh, so he can sort of spider sense into their brain.
Yeah, which I think is really, really cool.
That's all right.
Also, they're so cute, and it's just criminal that Marvel never made a stuffed animal of them. I think that's tragic.
Yeah, I agree.
Kurt is then invited to teach as an instructor at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning, where he helps young mutants harness their power and takes new kids under his wing, like Scorpion and Ziggy Karst and other characters you've never heard of. Around the same time, the death of Wolverine is happening, and Kurt has to mourn his best friend who had undergone the same process for him only a few years earlier when Kurt died.
Yep, because everybody dies in the Marvel Universe now.
He then dies again, having been infected by Bloody Bess, who was a cohort under control of the Shadow King at the time. Fans of Legion should recognize the Shadow King. He's impaled with a sword and dies once again, where he's stopped from entering heaven by Amanda. Remember her? Phoenix and Wolverine. They all decide that Kurt shouldn't really be dead, and he's almost immediately returned to the land of the living. 2 issues later. I'm not joking. X-Men, guys.
I'm done.
He then returns along with Bloody Bess, and the two take a romantic relationship, trip, vacation thing together before returning to the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning and taking up a teaching post once again. And that's where I'm going to end this lesson.
Thank God.
So that is your history of Nightcrawler.
Dear
Dun, da, da, da.
Dear Lord. One of our sponsors for this week is the amazing Leesa. That's spelled Leesa. And not only do they spell their name in a really cool way, but they also provide you with a quality night's sleep that helps you recover from distractions faster, prevents burnout, and helps you make some better decisions. And one of the best decisions you could ever make is getting a Leesa mattress. Now, I have a Leesa mattress. They sent me an awesome memory foam Leesa mattress, and I gotta say, it is probably my favorite mattress of all time. I'm not lying about that. I'm not just saying that because they sponsor our episode, and I'm not just saying that because the sleeps that I get on a Leesa mattress help me provide for this and do more research and be more awake for comic book reading time to make this podcast better. But I'm saying it because, it's actually a really good mattress.
Yeah.
And I love it because Leesa's mission is to provide a better night's sleep for everybody. Through their 1 to 10 program, they donate 1 mattress for every 10 they sell. That's more than 26,000 mattresses and counting. So they donate their mattresses, not just to podcast hosts like me, but to people that need it and people that deserve it. So Leesa has a pretty awesome summer deal. You can get $130 off a Leesa mattress at leesa.com/geek history. That's LEESA.com/geek history. And if you see a promo code or a promo area, just throw geek history in there. Throw it in there twice. Throw it in there 3 more times to make sure you get all those discounts over at Leesa Mattress. We thank Leesa Mattress for sponsoring this podcast. And, we just want you to know about it.
Should we roll into the ye olde recommended reading?
Please.
What is it, Jason?
Recommended reading, of course, is where Ashley is going to tell you about all the Nightcrawler titles that you should read if you want to read about Nightcrawler. If you go to geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading, you can find everything we've ever suggested. You click on it, takes you to Amazon. You can buy the books, get you some Nightcrawler goodness, and perhaps some. You can send a little Tex Willerman in these books.
Send a little Bamfs back our way. So the first thing I want to recommend is X-Men Epic Collection: The Gift. This is the Len Wein, Dave Cockrum origin. This is the first time. It's a collection of mostly Uncanny X-Men, but it also includes the Giant Size X-Men.
So it's some of his like 70s stuff.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
It's really interesting. There is some really silly stuff in there, of course.
Gonna look this up right now.
But Nightcrawler is great, and the art is really phenomenal.
Dave Cochran's a legend, that for a reation.
I would definitely recommend checking that out. Then I'm going to recommend Excalibur Epic Collection, which is Nightcrawler on Excalibur is unparalleled for his capability as a mutant. He's at his best here. Mm-hmm. And while he's maybe had more dynamic modern stories since then, I think this remains his best thing.
I agree.
So I want to shout that out. And then I'm also going to recommend Nightcrawler Volume 1 Homecoming. That's his Marvel Now series that's written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Todd Knack. I'm mostly recommending it for the art because the art is stunning. The story's a little silly. It's some of the stuff that we covered toward the end of this lesson after he comes back to life. But it's a great exploration of his friendship with Wolverine under modern context.
Yes.
So I recommend it for that reason as well. Do you want to have a real quick discussion with me, Tex Willerman?
Let's just have a normal discussion. Like whatever you. I think let's talk about Nightcrawler here.
Okay.
Whatever you want to. Like if this is extra long for the people, we make an extra long for the people.
Extra long for the people.
Yeah.
Cool. So you kind of touched on this earlier, but I'd love if we could talk about it a little more. You don't think Nightcrawler can sustain a solo series?
No.
Why?
Well, let me ask. Why do you think he can?
I think he can because I think Kurt, for me, really perfectly exemplifies what the crux of being a mutant, because he's so visibly foreign and he's so visibly other, and it's easy to other him because he's also scary looking on top of being a blue fuzzy elf. And I think sometimes in contemporary comics, the idea of being a mutant and being other gets lost in the sauce because X-Men's a soap opera. And we're so used now. We've lived with the X-Men for so long. They have a whole cinematic universe unto themselves.
Yeah.
I think we get away from their struggle and the allegory with their struggle. And to me, Kurt is such a logical person to put at the head of that. I think he should have a solo series, or I think, because we haven't seen it in a long time, I think he deserves to lead a team. I really do.
I'd be down with him leading a team.
And be like the public face of a team.
He just doesn't have... There's not enough, and I hate to say it, I don't think there's enough to his character to sustain a solo series. I really don't. Many X-Men cannot sustain a solo series. I would say a majority of the
Too
X-Men.
vague names.
Cyclops. They tried that a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Nope. Jean Grey. Mm-hmm. Iceman. Mm-hmm. Angel. Mm-hmm. Beast.
Let me rephrase this question. Do you think any X-Men character can sustain a solo series?
Just of the well, because Cable can. Mm-hmm. But I don't consider him really an X-Men.
X adjacent.
I'm just going to say people that have been X-Men team. Sure. Cable has been in the X team. Most of them can't. No, Wolverine can. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not to say that there can't be.
But Wolverine comes with a baked-in mystery.
Sure. Wolverine also started outside the X-Men.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He was a Hulk character.
Yep.
So that kind of helped him a little bit. No, I think most of them can't. And it drives me crazy that to be honest with you, my favorite period of the X-Men is really when there were like 7 different teams. Like that's the thing. Like if you want to tell X-Men stories about different characters, give me a different team. Give me a Nightcrawler-led team. But
they need to serve different purposes. And
agreed.
I think that's where sometimes the X-Men legacy has gotten into the weeds, because there's been more than one time, including right now.
We have like 4 X-Men
where
teams
there's
right
a
now,
number of X-Men teams, but if they're all serving the same purpose, if you're not doing things that are narratively different, which is why I think Excalibur works, because it's so different than the main X-Men.
Exactly, and I wish Excalibur would come back. Mm-hmm. Right now, I would say the only one that's really making it distinctive is X-Men Red, written by Tom Taylor.
X-Men Red actually is really good, guys.
It's really good.
You want to see a cute version of Nightcrawler? X-Men Red.
Oh yeah, he's on that team. That's right.
He's got a beard now.
Yeah,
I'm into it. I'm super into it.
But no, he can't. Now, if you put Nightcrawler in Texas, it's a good pal Tex Willerman. By the way, send us in drawings of Tex Willerman and Nightcrawler, bestest of pals, to the Geek History Lesson Facebook. I'd love to see them.
Sure.
Tex Willerman and Nightcrawler.
Do it, and maybe we'll send you something.
Maybe we'll send you something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else do you want to talk about?
That was my main point of discussion, actually. Why don't we roll into our little teaching tweet?
Teaching tweet is where, in less than 140 characters or less, like Twitter used to be, Ashley is going to give you a tweet about Nightcrawler.
I am. Where can we find this, Jason?
At GHL Podcast, of course. Didn't realize I'd tell the listeners that. What's your tweet?
Well, you always make me tell
I know. What's your tweet here?
So, Kurt Wagner, the incredible Nightcrawler, is the fuzzy blue elf with the heart of gold. And then I would include the really cute gif of him from X-Men Evolution, where he's dancing on the table in disguise, and then Scott yanks his tail because it's not being covered for some reason.
What was the
pulls him off.
What happened in that episode?
Well, that's in the title sequence.
Oh, that you mean it doesn't actually happen in an episode that he's dancing on the table?
I think so. Okay. But they're like eating outside and he's dancing on the table. I only know it. I only know it from the title sequence.
Okay.
From memory. I haven't rewatched it in a long time because it's not very good.
Nope.
All right. Let's roll into the last part of a podcast. Yeah, the honor roll.
The honor roll is the last part of our podcast where you can roll over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and you can leave us a 5-star review. And if you do that, doesn't matter what you write, we're going to read it in the podcast.
Thank you.
First person to join the honor roll is the People's Champ, who says, "Nice work."
Nice.
I'm a lifelong DC Comics fan, so I absolutely love this podcast. Every episode teaches me something new, and learning about characters I'm not as familiar with has me interested to read more. Thanks for the great work and entertainment. Marvel too, but they're a close second. Okay, the People's Champ. We can all love comic books together. It's all good.
Yeah.
Thank you for the review.
Thank you.
The next one comes from Nathan Arredondo.
Welcome.
Who said, "Such an amazing podcast. I love listening to your podcast. I've learned so much about different superheroes from you guys. If this was an actual college class, I would have signed up without hesitation. The Hal Jordan episode was great. I cannot wait for part 2. I think we know when he wrote this review. And I also think of doing an episode on Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz would be great too. Keep up the amazing work." So Nathan Arredondo and the People's Champ, welcome to the honor roll. You're going to get stickers, big gold stickers right next to your name, and you're going to get a key to the Teacher's Lounge. That is where the internet will take you to the sites that are generally sponsored by Tex Willerman.
Ooh, fancy.
They're crazy sites.
I bet they are.
Watch out for them. If you want to join the honor roll Geek History Lesson, all you have to do is go over to iTunes/Apple Podcasts, whatever your player is, and give us 5 stars and write us a review, and we'll read it on the podcast. And while you're over there, subscribe and download to whatever audio podcast feature that you put in your ear holes, so that you can make sure you hear us every single week. Now, Ashley, they can always suggest future episodes of Geek History Lesson. Where can they do that?
You can do that at geekhistorylesson.com, facebook.com/geekhistorylesson, or on Twitter at GHL Podcast. There's 1,000 ways to contact us in all of those places.
And let's give a real quick thank you and shout out to our TAs that suggested this episode.
Yeah, if you want to be as cool as Matthew Peterson, James Steinberg, and Tobias, Joseph Conrad, Tony Curtis Nichols, Austin Baker, Alberto, Emily Keebler, and Sean Yount, please go there and very politely, only once, we don't need multiple messages, request what you would like to hear us cover most.
Yes, and you can also follow us on all the social medias. You can follow me on Twitter at Jawin, that's Jawin. You can follow Ashley on Twitter at Ashley V. Robinson. We already mentioned the podcast. Another cool place you can follow us and get lots of cool extra content is patreon.com/Jawin. That's Jawin. Now, the Patreon is the best way to support us. The Patreon is the most direct way to support us. And if you've ever found value from our podcast, even $1 a month, that's 25 cents an episode, makes a huge difference.
Sometimes
and it also
less than that on a 5th week.
Exactly. And it helps lead us to us making more projects, more videos, and even other podcasts. Yes, we have ideas for other podcasts. We can only do it with the support over there. But if you ever liked our podcast, please go over there. And we don't just ask for your support. We give you cool stuff like extra podcast episodes, like Geek History Lesson Extra. It's an extra 10 to 15 minutes on everything that we talk about. Ashley, what are we talking about this week?
Oh, I suspect we're going to have a Tex and Nightcrawler conversation.
Well, we'll see, because since several of them were shut down by Nightcrawler, we'll see if Tex is in the mood.
I think maybe he's read How to Improvise by now.
You mean Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
Let's hope. Let's hope. All right, we're into the last section of our podcast. Hashtag stick around, where we make sure that you stuck around for the the promotions and all our ads, and not ads, but the way that we pimp ourselves out. Yeah. If you like these little sections, a lot of people do. Hashtag stick around or hashtag text Willerson. Is it Willerson or Wilkerson? I forgot already. Willerman. Tex Willerman. It's been a long podcast, everybody.
Tex Willerman, no.
Tex Willerman, yes. Hashtag Tex Willerman, yes. Also, hashtag stick around. What are we talking about?
Do you think Nightcrawler would be popular if he was not blue?
No. That's all I got to say about that one.
What's your favorite version of Nightcrawler? What's your favorite costume?
Oh, that's what I say. I only know of 2 versions of Nightcrawler. Are there more? Like there's Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler and regular Nightcrawler. They're almost the same person.
The Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, all the Age of Apocalypse costumes are very silly. I really like the Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler.
Get the hell out of here.
They're super
Joe Madeira designed them. Actually, I'm looking up. Nightcrawler had a costume in the 90s that I really liked. You can't go wrong with the original Dave Cockrum costume, though.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But he had a really cool costume in the 90s when he was in Excalibur. And
I think the Excalibur costume is the best costume.
Which Excalibur costume do you think about?
Isn't Excalibur where he was introduced with the big shoulders and the red X? That's the Excalibur costume, isn't it?
What do you mean with the red X?
He's got like big shoulders, pointy shoulders, and it's black, and then it goes to like an
a
X.
V. That's the Dave Cockrum original costume.
I thought that was the Excalibur costume.
That is the costume that he first appeared in.
I thought that was the Excalibur
costume. You're talking about this one right here that I'm pointing out.
Yeah.
That is the original Dave Cockrum costume. That
cool.
is not the Excalibur costume. I'm trying to find the Excalibur costume right now because I think they gave him a goatee for the 90s.
He has had facial hair at different times.
But they gave him also a sword in the 90s.
Yeah. I love Nightcrawler with the swords.
Oh, I found it. No, this is my favorite Nightcrawler costume. Is this one right here, where he has like
is it because where he's more blue?
He's swashbuckler, and he has he has a sword on. He has a pirate earring. It has a very famous cover. The cover is for, if you want to look it up, it's Excalibur number 98. And he's leaping at the camera, and he has a little badge, and he still has the little red V, but it's like a sash. It's this cover that I'm showing Ashley right now.
Yeah.
That is my favorite Nightcrawler costume.
I am anti Nightcrawler with the earring.
What is a pirate?
I don't like. This is anyone can do whatever they want. I don't like men with earrings.
He's a pirate, Ashley.
I don't like it.
It's been a while since I've looked up his Age of Apocalypse costume, so let me look up Nightcrawler. I know he has like a weird, like I said, upside down L on his face.
I was super bummed when X2 came out. I think Alan Cumming is a freaking genius casting for Nightcrawler. I think he's so wonderful. I think he does such a good job. I was really bummed that he just had like weird stripy pants and a jacket. Like he just looks like a hobo.
Oh, they didn't do the full red costume?
I didn't expect the full red costume.
I don't like his Age of Apocalypse costume.
But I was not pleased with what we got.
It's very boring. It's mostly black with little red highlights.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay. I think it's very slick.
Oh, you like the stealth Nightcrawler. I think the biggest problem with the X-Men franchise is that we just haven't had Nightcrawler come back as Alan Cumming. We only got one movie with Alan Cumming.
I don't think he wanted to be painted again.
I can see that.
And I don't think he wanted, because they didn't make him fuzzy.
He was supposed to be in The Last Stand, and then he didn't. He decided not to.
I think he didn't like the prep time.
I get it.
And he wasn't Jennifer Lawrence, so they weren't just going to give it in CG.
I will say the one cool thing about the last X-Men movie, X-Men Apocalypse, was at the very end, we finally got to see all their 90s costumes. And Nightcrawler was finally wearing his comic book red little V costume.
I actually thought, Cody Smith McPhee was like a pretty good Nightcrawler.
I thought he did a fine job.
He's no Alan Cumming, but like he was good.
Yeah, no one is. All right, that's it for Geek History Lesson. I am Jason Tex Willerman Inman.
I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And Ashley, will you close out the podcast?
Class is now dismissed.